Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We have some pretty breaking news today on a Palantir SPAC that is being shorted really heavily right now in the markets. There is a research firm called Iceberg Research that just released a report on why they are short Lilium. Lilium is Palantir's SPAC that is trying to make electric jets a reality. They're trying to get jets to actually fly in the air without using carbon dioxide. Really innovative technology, been around for the past 7 years. This firm that is shorting them is betting that they are not innovative, and they're trying to ride them out to zero. It is very weird because Lilium just got a deal from NetJets, which is the biggest private jet company in the world, for an order of about 150 electric jets. So it's kind of weird. Why are they getting an order to make 150 electric jets for the premier private jet company in the world? And then the short report comes out. So let's get right into it right now. Very, very interesting. So here is the research firm, Iceberg Research, revealing financial manipulation and accounting frauds. So if we go to their website, they do a lot of financial research, more like activist investors, and obviously they're trying to find stocks that they can short and make a lot of money off of by shorting those stocks. So let's read what they said. Summary of findings. German company Lilium is building an electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, eVTOL, the Lilium jet. Its objective is for the jet to fly up to 155 miles. But none of the Lilium's demonstrators have flown for more than 3 minutes, even after 7 years of work. eVTOL industry leader Joby Aviation, which is a big holding in, not a big holding, but a decent holding in Kathy Wood's funds, has flown 150 miles on its current model. In fact, she's buying more of Joby right now. Many experts have raised serious doubts about the jet's ability to fly 155 miles. This is largely due to its configuration of 36 ducted fans, recently reduced to 30, that devour power during takeoff and landing and hovering and leaves little power for actual flight. Against these criticism, Lilium argued that the battery consumption, which is their sort of main thesis, would be minimized as little time would be spent in hover, which is the takeoff and landing. And again, they do vertical takeoff and landing. That's kind of the innovative technology to allow them to not have to use gas. One engineer told us that Lilium underestimates the hover time required by aviation regulators. So apparently there's regulation times to get into the sky by aviation. Lilium promises its jet has ready access to battery cells with energy density of 320 to 330. I don't know what that is. Watts per kilogram. I might be wrong on that. One of the sources it relies on to show these batteries are within reach is Zen Labs Energy. Zen Labs is 34.8% Lilium-owned associated company whose CEO, Sujit Kumar, was accused by General Motors of misrepresenting battery performance while at his previous company, Envious Systems. So the CEO of the company that is saying that there is battery potential for Lilium to actually do this was accused by General Motors of misrepresenting battery performance when they were working with General Motors, I'm assuming, at Envious Systems while he was at his previous company. Zen Labs also has is owned by 35. Lilium owns 35% of Zen Labs, so that also is the argument they're trying to imply that, look, this is not a neutral report. This guy's been sued before for misrepresenting battery energy, and there's companies owned by Lilium, so obviously they're not going to say anything bad. Interesting stuff. And then they have some more stuff here. They have 4 more bullet points. Let's read those. CEO Daniel Wigland had no meaningful professional aerospace experience before starting Lilium in 2015. His alma mater, the Technical University of Munich, criticized Lilium's jet concept. This university wanted no association with Lilium. So they're going after his university. They're like, hey, this university doesn't even like this guy. They don't even have any interesting. They don't think he's interesting at all. And the reason for that is because they don't think he has aerospace experience before he started Lilium. So 7 years ago when he started, they were like, why is this guy starting an aerospace company? Now, both Joby and Lilium hope aviation authorities will certify their eVTOLs for commercial flight in 2023, which is a year from now. This means both firms must have sufficient test flights for certification's credit to hit that target. Joby is closer to the mark with 1,000 test flights under its belt. Lilium is likely to miss 2023 target by miles. It has completed less than 50 test flights on its 4th and 5th current demonstrators. We believe the design of its jet further complicates the certification process. So now they're saying, look, in order to actually fly through federal regulations, you got to be able to have all these tests. You got to have all these miles under your belt. Lilium doesn't have that, which means it's less likely that in 2023 they're actually going to be able to scale. We estimate that Lilium has about 18 months before cash runs dry. Lilium announced in August 2021 that Brazilian airline Azul ordered 220 jets for $1 billion. We believe the deal is more akin to a marketing agreement. Lilium offered cheap shares to Azul in exchange for the right to market an established company as a partner. Such stock for image deals rarely lead to real business. Around 177 million Lilium shares, about 68% of the company's total outstanding shares worth 652 million, will be unlocked for sale today. So let's go... But before we finish analyzing a couple of those points, let's go to Lilium on Webull. Let's look at what it looks like right now. Lilium's down bad. So let's go to the 1 month on Lilium. Lilium ran up to about 590. I think this was the week of or the week after they got the 150 jets order. This is March 9th. And as a result, they are down today. Now, they're down today probably because of this report, but they're also down likely because of the fact that insider shares have been opened, about 652 million of them, to be unlocked. There's a lockup period with some of these stocks as they go public, and it went public through a SPAC agreement. So a year later now, these shares are open to be unloaded to the public. Now, what does this mean overall? There's a couple of things I want to talk about that are important to discuss when it comes to analyzing this. I think the strongest argument they have here, and again, I mean, they could be totally right about this, right? I'm here to sort of report the good and bad news about what happens with Palantir SPACs. I have no information if this is actually true or not. But they're making a hypothesis that Lilium within the next year is not going to be able to minimize its battery technology while reducing the ducts within the actual jet that allows it to have a vertical takeoff and landing that is akin to something that federal regulators would be able to approve, and that would allow it to be able to take commercial flight. They're also saying that the $1 billion deal they got from the industry partner that they got a deal with, which was Azul, which, yeah, it is a Brazilian airline. I think Azul, there was a documentary about them with JetBlue. So, like, the reason they only made this deal is because Azul got cheap equity in Lilium, so they got an equity stake, and Azul was able to say, hey, all right, we'll buy $1 billion of your jets, but that's just a marketing deal at the end of the day. That's not like a real deal, because if you're getting cheap shares and you get to like pump up the stock because you're buying $1 billion worth of flights and people get to see that, and Azul is a trusted Brazilian airline, then at that point, there's a market opportunity to do a little bit of a pump. Now, the attacks on the CEO and sort of that he has no aerospace experience, that is less convincing to me, because I'm like, okay. Like, you could say that. I mean, that's fine. You could say also that, oh, this guy was a fraud at another company and he said some bad things. That's also okay. But again, at the end of the day, those are ad hominem attacks. I don't know how valid those attacks are. Out of these bullet points, those were the two attacks that I'm like, they could be true, but they're not like the most convincing on face, because if you say this is a bad person and say that's why the company's going to fail, it's like, it's less likely. The more better arguments are the estimations of cash burn rate that they think Lilium will have, which is about 18 months. The Azul thing, the fact that 600 million shares go out of lockup, and the actual analysis they're doing on the jet itself only being able to fly up 155 miles. The problem here, and the reason I'm confused, is because of this. NetJets is buying 150 eVTOLs from aviation startup Lilium. So let's read this a little bit. NetJets has signed a memorandum of understanding to acquire up to 150 electric aircraft jets from Munich-based Lilium. The electric regional aircraft would provide more options to NetJet owners for their private flights, said the company. The Berkshire Hathaway company said it will also support Lilium in a sales campaign to offer its electric jets in fractional shares, meaning Berkshire Hathaway owns a bit of NetJets. NetJets is making a deal with a SPAC. Now, one could argue, okay, a Berkshire Hathaway company that's probably well managed, well governed. Not all of them are amazing. I mean, Berkshire had its whole craft fiasco a couple years ago, but they wouldn't be picking a company that's trash necessarily. I mean, they wouldn't be picking a company from a pure marketing perspective. Like, if they wanted to pick a company, they would pick Joby, right? Joby Aviation is the leader here. In fact, let's go to Joby's website right now. So if Joby Aviation is the leader, why would NetJets not pick Joby Aviation? Well, there obviously has to be some unique benefit they get from picking Lilium, either from a technology perspective. They think there's better tech in Lilium. They believe that there is less noise because of their unique design. They believe there's there's more battery storage based upon what Lilium was talking about. So there has to be some unique reason. Now, I don't know if NetJets got shares in Lilium. I feel like that would have been disclosed. It hasn't been disclosed. So likely there's not like the Azul type of conflict of interest that they're talking about. Lilium has already started a transportation hub in Central Florida that it says will link the state with eVTOL aircraft. Its jet is expected to be certified in 2024 and can be configured in both 4-passenger luxury and shuttle versions with a seat for a pilot. Daniel Wingard, CEO of Lilium, the guy who has no aerospace experience, said that private and businesses air aviation will be early adopters of the eVTOL revolution. And NetJets told Rob Report, we'll explore deploying Lilium jets in select locations to allow our owners to travel to and from their NetJet aircrafts on shorter hops and their favorite nearby destination, i.e. rich people problems. Now, a couple things. What does this mean for Palantir? Well, first of all, what does this mean for Lilium? The stock is getting tanked. Don't know if the stock's going to recover from this for a while. I think growth is going to help the stock to recover. Ultimately, their next earnings is going to show how much runway they have left and how much investors believe in the company. Palantir is down significantly on this investment, right? So what it means for Palantir is that they're going to have to show a massive loss on their next earnings, like in some technical firm, whether it's realized, unrealized. It's going to affect earnings per share just like it did in the last quarter on this Lilium SPAC fiasco. Now, the question is if this is true or not, and that is yet to be told. We don't know if this is true. If this is true, yeah, definitely not the best thing in the world. I mean, this SPAC is going to go under, and that's going to be bad for Palantir. And out of the 14 SPACs that they invested in, I've publicly said, look, I don't think all of them are going to the moon. I think maybe 3, 4, 5 of them are going to be winners, and maybe 2 of those 5 are going to be big winners. Like, we just don't know at the end of the day, right? This is something that we're going to have to end up seeing. The reason I'm skeptical about this is because this NetJet deal, it's like, it doesn't make sense to me at the end of the day. I don't understand how NetJets orders 150 jets of a company that either you didn't do enough due diligence on and you knew their company had frauds in it, you didn't trust the CEO. And by the way, when you close a multi-billion-dollar deal for 150 jets, you're going to talk to the CEO and get a feel of like, hey, do we want to buy stuff from this guy? And number three, if the tech isn't good in the jet, either Lilium's lying about it and they convinced NetJets to like buy the lie, or NetJets did the due diligence and they're like, hey, the tech is fine. We're gonna trust it and we're gonna make this order. That is the fundamental question here. What's gonna happen? I have no clue, but it becomes weird that Iceberg Research is shorting these guys. And again, let's go back to their Twitter. Given the NetJets deal. If the NetJets deal didn't come out, I would be like, all right, this makes a little bit more sense why I can see you guys are shorting them. But that deal right there, I know that's the only argument I'm hanging on to, but I mean, that's a pretty big argument. You don't get a 150 jet order from a fake company at the end of the day. This is a company that's also, it seems like they're notoriously short other companies. They're activist investors. They look for companies they can short. They put out a lot of research to short. Look at this tweet. In a bull bear market, every short seller is a genius. So they're crossing out bull and everyone. In a bear market, every short seller is a genius. So this is a company that shorts companies and makes their research very public in an attempt to get other people to short those companies. I mean, that's essentially their business model. And if they're correct on that, instead of pumping the stock, you literally dump the stock and you ride the profits on the downside as you're shorting, because you make money if you short the stock as it goes down, and then they get to profit at the end. So ultimately, we will see all right. Good news and bad news about Palantir SPACs. A lot of people have been saying, hey, please tell us other bad things about Palantir. Don't be stuck in an echo chamber. Here's the video for you guys. This is obviously very bad for Palantir if this is very true. And we will see ultimately what happens as a result of that. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.